audio, testing for movement. Seems to be alright. It's a little zoomed in, but that's just YouTube for you. Let me just move some stuff around here. That's going on. Okay. There we are. And we are live. Perfect. Basically just making sure that everything's fine. Bit of a feedback loop there. Let me just... There we go. Feedback loop taken care of. Let's have a look here. Just want to try. Okay, switch this to live chat so I can keep track of people in general. Let me just have a look here. Any sound on that? Okay. Hi. Hello. Why is that god-awful demi-devil on the thumbnail? That's cute. Because the god-awful demi-devil, well, likes wearing suits. That's why. But yeah. These are just kind of the pre-stream checks. So congratulations if you're here early. Right. I say this probably won't make it into the final cut of the uploaded version, but knowing me, yeah, well, let me see here. Just making sure everything is set up properly. If anyone is watching and listening, I'm going to play something. Just let me know if you hear it, and if so, is it drowning out my voice, basically? Okay? Give me a quick second here. Let's go... what could I play? So many things I could play. Let's just play a bit of Mitski, because why not? Let's see. Okay, just let me know how well you can hear this, all right? This is supposed to be clear, a backing track to my actual voice. So if you can hear it a little, that's fine, okay? If you can't hear it at all, do let me know, all right? Right then. By the way, no, this is not on the list. It came out in 2022, doesn't qualify. So don't even at me. Right, let me just have a look here. The polyhedrons. Is it a dodecahedron? I believe it's a dodecahedron, yes. And it flashes different colors and is magical. So it makes me happy. Let me see. Life goes on at number 1. Very likely, considering how warm I am to that song. But it does show that you read the blog, which I appreciate. Okay, so just to be clear, if we start a bit late, it's fine. First of all, can somebody, I don't care who, can somebody just let me know how this is sounding in comparison to my voice? Is it too loud? Is it too quiet? Do I need to speak up? Do I need to be more quiet? Just let me know. I need feedback here. You guys are my helpers. Congratulations. I will take sounding all right. That's entirely fine. Music's a bit low. Okay. Wait, the music's very low. Okay. So the music needs to be a little louder. Obviously, this will also depend from song to song. I may have to adjust the audio as we go, but that's fine. It'll be great. Let me just adjust this, shall I? Also, I don't want to knock over my dodecahedron. Whoop. I'll just say, flip it onto here. There we go. Sorry, I am using a piece of tech I am unfamiliar with, so bear with me. Is that too loud? How's that sounding now? In terms of, again, I'll just keep talking as if I would when talking about the music, and you just let me know. Is this better? Oh, that's a bit loud on my end. But let me know what you think. Okay. Still very quiet? Okay, it's fine. Okay. That's better. Fine is better. I'll take fine. A bit louder than background music. Okay, I'll turn it down a little bit. How about that? How's that? That not bad? Cool. Perfect. Right. We're going to say this is the ideal level, okay? So for those of you just getting here, that was Mitski's Love Me More. Check it out. So the way this is going to work, now that we're officially starting, because it's almost 9 o'clock. I'll give people another couple of minutes to show up if they want to. But yes, this is the top 50 songs of 2021, which, as you might expect, is something that is going to be about as structured as my lists usually are. Most of my live streams, as you know if you've ever tuned in here, are a little chaotic, and that is very much going to be the nature of this list. There are some songs I might go on about way too long, and some songs I may go about a little less. The best part is you can dip in and out as much as you want, because it's a live stream, so who knows what's going to happen. Just for the sake of ease, I am going to leave a break in the middle. I'd say between 26 and 25, I'll leave about a 10-minute break if anyone wants to go to the loo, get refreshed, whatever. Do what you want. Or just sign off, and hopefully I will be able to upload the playback without any copyright bullshit. So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited anyway. But anyway, today we're counting down, as I said, the top 50 songs of 2021. The rules are, for the first time ever, one song per artist. Not only that, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a song off of an album that I listened to this year. It just has to be a song that I came across at some point or another. It could be, some of these songs were sent to me individually. Some of them are off of albums that I listened to throughout the year. Some of them are just standalone singles that I reviewed on Musical McCool, my Irish chart. My weekly Irish chart review series, and a lot of it is going to be very niche, I'd say, because once again, part of listening to Irish music, for instance, is that there's just such a variety of stuff out there that most people haven't even heard of. So if you're expecting some of the big names on this list, you might be a bit disappointed. There were a few that came close. Arlo Parks, for instance, does not have a song on this list, but I do think that Collapsed in Sunbeams is an amazing album, and definitely one of my most listened to albums of the year, for sure. But again, it's one song per artist, and there were some cuts, sadly enough. So I hope that clears everything up. If you do have any comments on any of these, well, that's what this comment section is for. That's what the chat is for, rather. I'm excited to get started, and as we go, I'm going to be playing each of the songs as I'm talking about them in the background. Once again, if it's too loud or if it's too quiet, just spam me in the chat and I'll probably notice, unless I'm really into talking about the song in question. And finally, I will be putting together a Spotify playlist for the end of this, so if any of you don't feel like listening to me ramble on for 2 and a bit hours, or if you just want a clear-cut version of what made the list, I will be posting a Spotify playlist in the description once the video goes up, along with an actual breakdown from 50 to 1 of each of the songs on this list. So again, you don't have to sit through all of this rambling. All right. Oh, and I'll also leave a timestamp for when the list actually starts properly, because that's only fair. I know how I can go on. But yeah, without further ado, it is more or less a little after 9 o'clock. Thank you for those of you who have shown up tonight, and thank you to those of you who will show up a little later. We'll see how we go. Either way, this is the top 50 songs of 2021 according to me, and therefore, the only correct list out there. We are going to start off with number 50, and this is a treat. Number 50 is Denise Chaila. I just want to make that clear. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, but Denise Chaila's 061. So you let me know how that sounds in the background. Point is, this is a rap song that I came across once again on my musical reviews, my musical McCool series this year. It's actually from an artist in Limerick, who is part of the 061, which is essentially a group. It's essentially a support group of artists who want to promote and push forward the artistry of the county of Limerick, which I think is amazing. I think that's awesome. Also, feel free to fact check me on this, because I am just doing this on the fly. But the point is, this song grabbed my attention from the very beginning. It has a great knock to it. Denise is an amazing rapper with a ton of technical flows that she throws in there pretty much without taking a breath. And on top of that, it has one of the catchiest, most bombastic choruses of the year, which is all about praising the 061, the place she represents, the group she represents. And it's just awesome. Like, for every single time that I felt maybe the chorus was a bit too generic or too middle, a bit too simple, I would then turn to the verses, which are incredibly technical, especially on the bridge, where she breaks down any sort of stereotypes you might have of her, especially as a woman working in hip-hop, and especially as a rapper who doesn't get credit for, being smart and actually having ideas of her own that might actually better her community. Yeah, this song is absolutely awesome, an anthem that I was listening to pretty much from the day it came out, and easily a contender for this list. Moving on to number 49. Number 49 is one a few more of you will have heard. It is The Numbers by Rise Against. So, I didn't listen to that many albums in 2021. It's one of the reasons why I'm not doing a best albums list. And this particular album I only checked out because that music guy in the group wouldn't stop annoying me to go listen to it. I was so ready to just skip the album because it's a Rise Against album. They've been on and off, up and down for the last few years, with the occasional gem, sure, but I don't know if they've released an album that I loved since maybe 2013. But I will say I'm glad that I listened, because this album, while a little front-loaded, is fantastic, and the opening track is easily the standout for me. It's an incredibly populist song with a ton of guitar and drum work that is just phenomenal and creates a fantastic groove, and also happens to be incredibly populist, much like the rest of the album. In my opinion, it's just one of the more straightforward tracks on it, but one that gets its point across so easily and has such an easy appeal that you can't help but lap it up. It's a song all about having the numbers to make change, despite the fact that you don't have the power. Sure, there's a tide of power that shifts back and forth, but for the most part it's with the rich and the influential. But at the end of the day, our influence is growing as well, as more and more people join the cause to make real change happen in our society. It's an incredibly, once again, populist song that pushes forward a movement of revolution and standing up for yourselves. There's so much hope to it that I really do love. In fact, it reminds me a lot of Jason Isbell's song Hope the High Road, which is a very similar message behind it. Basically that, they may have the power, but there's no way they can outnumber us. This is a song that I just championed all year and that I just kept playing over and over again, especially when I felt overwhelmed at times. Excellent song, one of the best from Rise Against in recent memory. Definitely check it out and the rest of the album, Newer Generation, if you haven't. Right, number 48. If you've been paying attention to experimental rock music this year, you will have heard Instrumental by Black Country New Road. Now, to be clear, yes, there were quite a few Black Country New Road songs that could have made this list. One of them was, of course, Sunglasses. Another one was Science Fair. But ultimately, this is the one that I return to the most, purely because it's the one that opens up the album, and it just sets the mood so perfectly. The fact that an instrumental is making this list really says it all about just how amazing the song is, with the klezmer, the absolutely phenomenal beat, the drum work, just everything about it is so dynamic. The song just does not slow down. It shifts and evolves and warps for its entire 5-minute runtime and doesn't give you a break. It's just an experience, the kind of song that you listen to for the very first time and immediately have to play back. I swear to you that I would just play this song on repeat sometimes while flying this year, the 1 or 2 times I was actually allowed to. I think this song is fantastic. I have yet to hear the new Black Country New Road album, but considering how amazing For the First Time was, I am absolutely certain it is going to kick ass. This UK group that basically blew up overnight deserves all the huge amounts of praise that they have received this year. And if you haven't checked out the album, especially if you're a fan of really experimental rock music, definitely check it out. So good. Right, back to something a bit more niche. Number 47 is a little treasure called Don't Let Me Stand on My Own by Imelda and Niall McNamee. Imelda is a legend within the Irish music scene. She is an incredible folk singer songwriter who has created some amazing ballads and some amazing anthems over the last few years, including a huge LGBTQ anthem this year in Made to Love, which was going to make this list for the longest time. But ultimately, I'm a sucker for a good duet, and while that album was just 11 past the hour, was just chock full of fantastic songs, ultimately this is the one that I return to the most, purely because, once again, I love a duet, and these two play off each other so perfectly. There's something very endearing about a song like this, about two people who were separated for a while and are coming back together after years of being apart and finding companionship and real partnership with each other, and knowing that each of them is a bit of a firecracker, a bit independent, but also realizing that they would much rather just be happier with another person in their lives, even if they didn't realize it until they finally came back together. And that yearning chorus where their two vocals blend together, just crying out, "Don't let me stand on my own." It's such a simple, straightforward cry, and yet it just gets me in the feels every time I listen to it. Phenomenal duet. Definitely check it out if you haven't. Number 46, I believe. Number 46 is Gravity by Brent Faiyaz, DJ Dahi, and Tyler the Creator. Now, before you at me, yes, this does mean that no songs from Call Me If You Get Lost made this list. I definitely considered it for a long time. Wiltshire and Corso and, honestly, Lemonhead were all really close to making this list, as is What's Your Name. Basically, most of that album I would have considered for this list. It is, to date, my favorite Tyler the Creator album. However, in my opinion, the best song that he made this year was this one with Brent Faiyaz. I just adore everything about this song. It's smooth. It's got a pulse to it. It absolutely... It's all about just being grounded by someone in your life who is loving and caring, but keeps you on your toes and keeps you in a headspace where you realize that you're not untouchable. You can't get away with everything. And there's a real love for that. Somebody who he actually appreciates for keeping him grounded. And Tyler, the Creator's feature, in my opinion, is one of the best things he did all year. No, I'm not sure if the feature on its own is better than, most of the things on Homie If You Get Lost, but I will say that on this song, he fits in fucking perfectly. This song is really only one I heard because it charted on the Billboard, early on in the year, and I haven't been able to stop listening to it since. I think this song is absolutely phenomenal and deserves a lot more credit than it's gotten. I feel like this one got forgotten over the course of the year. It absolutely does not deserve to be. And also, if you haven't yet, check out Call Me If You Get Lost, because it is well worth the listen. Number 45. Number 45 is one that I know at least one of you, possibly watching now, is going to be very happy is here, because you've been basically sucking his dick all year in the nicest way possible. Number 45 is Planes in the Sky by James Vincent McMorrow. I did not expect a James Vincent McMorrow to be making this. I did not expect a song of his to be making this list. He has been consistently one of the more frustrating artists that I've talked about on Musical McCool, an Irish artist who's been in the game for a good 10, 15 years at this point, and who's made a lot of folk music, but which he tries to blend with electronica, and it often just does not work for me. And he had several misses this year, I will admit, but the moment that I heard Planes in the Sky, which I think was one of the last singles he released this year, I was just hooked. I could not stop listening to this song. The hook is too good. The finger snaps, the hand claps, the echoing bass, no, the echoing instrumental that just has so much space to breathe in the mix, and those soaring backing vocals that just add so much atmosphere on the hook. Even the lyrics, which aren't exactly incredible, there's just a poetry and a playfulness to them that I really like. It reminds me a lot of a Kurt Weill song, to be honest, where it's not so much about what he's saying or the point behind it, and more about just how great it sounds. And yeah, for me at least, everything about this song was perfectly measured to flatter James Vincent McMorrow's voice and performance. In my opinion, it's his best song in a long time and easily the best thing he released in 2021. Once again, check this song out. It's a gem. Right, number 44 is My Life by J. Cole, 21 Savage, and Morray. I was genuinely shocked this year when I listened to that J. Cole album, which the name escapes me right now. The Off Season, thank you. The Off Season, which is, in my opinion, the best thing he's ever done, bar none. There is not a single J. Cole album I've gone to back to more than that one. I think it's easily his best. For me, personally, I don't really like early Cole, and a lot of his output in the last couple of years have just been meh. But I think that the off-season is fantastic, and I genuinely think that My Life is one of his best songs to date, purely for the way that he starts out that song with that sort of low-key energy, and then it just kicks in with the beat with the line, top of the morning, I know that you thought I was dormant, which once again is a reference to the fact that he starts out calm and then suddenly gets hype. I love that touch, and the song is full of things like that. His wordplay is just top notch here. The beat is full of rattling 808s, which he plays over phenomenally. And on top of that, I think that the wailing backing vocals provided by Morray are phenomenally atmospheric. It's basically an upgrade of A Lot, his other big hit with 21 Savage, and in my opinion, this is miles better. And I love A Lot, just to be clear. And speaking of which, 21 Savage is amazing too. I don't know when this guy got so good. Maybe it was around the time A Lot came out, but he has just been consistently killing features the last few years. And while there were many songs up from the off season that could have made it, ultimately it was 21's verse that decided it for me. That and the fact that I think the chorus is absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, this is one of the best things that any of these people have done in years, and I am so thrilled to put it on this list. Number 43. I am trying to keep count. I'm pretty sure I'm 43. 43. Yep. 43 is Are We Free by Mick Flannery and Susan O'Neill. This is, once again, another killer Irish duet. Mick Flannery has been in the game for years now, and Susan O'Neill, while relatively new, is the perfect match for him. Essentially, they made an entire album this year about a relationship slowly falling apart and crumbling. And this song in particular was the one that I had championed from the first second I heard it, purely because the writing is just so phenomenal. The way that both of them use so many common phrases that the other would use, the fact that they know exactly what the other one's going to say because they've had this argument 100 times, and the fact that it stays relatable the entire way through, and then builds to that fucking great spare chorus where the instrumental just bleeds out, especially with that piano line. It's the kind of thing that just makes my heart soar every time I hear it. Once again, I'm a sucker for ballads between men and women or people of opposite genders. It just sounds phenomenal. I love it so much. This song is amazing, and if you haven't checked out the rest of that album, definitely do. It is well worth a listen, and in my opinion, this is the best song off it. My God, I love this list. Moving on. And right from there, we go to number 42 with a real change of tone. Number 42 is Take It, parentheses, Yuck, by Offica and Debo of the A92 crew. I never really listened to much drill before 2021. It's not a style of hip-hop that really appeals to me. I don't even listen to much grime, to be honest. But part of doing a weekly series talking about, the Irish charts is that you're going to come across a lot of drill music because that's what's popular in the UK and Ireland. And while the UK did give us that one song, Whoop-Dee by CJ, which even crossed over to the States for a bit, in my opinion, this is the Irish equivalent and it's miles better, purely for the fact that it's absolutely full of Naruto references. I mean, Offica is known for emulating Naruto in most of his songs, but here, I just love the references. Some of them don't even make sense, to be perfectly honest, but the energy is just so consistent, and Debo and Offica are such a perfect match, easily two of the strongest members of that crew, that I just can't help but be swept up every time I listen to it. I know it's not the smartest song. The main chorus literally goes, oh god. Sorry, it's a little hard to do when the song is actually playing in the background. But he says, I won't stop till I make it. And then, yeah. See, this is what happens when you play something live. I'm just going to let the chorus play. Since 19 won't stop till I make it. How soon I can give it this one, a Latina. Golo, Vamonos, andale, man arriba. I mean, Vamonos, andale, man arriba. Of course I'm not going to put this on the list because it's fucking smart, but it's also really catchy. The beat is awesome, and it has a ton of personality to it that I can't deny. It is, in my opinion, the best thing to come out of Irish drill all year, and I will be damned if I don't put it in my top 50 songs of 2021. If you can't deal with it, listen to more of the genre. You might find something you like. Number 41 is another one that I'm sure a lot of you have heard. Number 41 is Drunk and I Don't Want to Go Home by Elle King and Miranda Lambert. Look, 2021 was rough in spots. And yes, there were some days where some of us indulged in the alcohol a little more than we should have. And, to each their own, I will say, just for the sake of covering my ass, drink responsibly. But I will also admit that there were many nights where, when I was allowed to go out drinking, I would come home listening to this song and just blasting it out at full volume. These two have such fantastic chemistry that you just can't deny it. Every single time I listened to this song, I was struck by just how phenomenal they both sound once this hook hits, and the way that the production, while definitely leaning towards more modern pop country, still has enough grime and bite to it to match some of their best songs. I love the way that Miranda throws herself into this and doesn't care about sounding poised or refined. I love the fact that Elle King almost got a second hit after X's and O's years ago, thanks to the success of this song, and I think she sounds phenomenal in the country rock scene personally. I didn't think that I would ever be talking about Elle King again in my life, but I am so happy that I get to talk about her in this capacity with what is, in my opinion, her best song to date. If you haven't heard Drunk and I Don't Want to Go Home, you need to. It's too much fun to deny. Definitely do yourselves a favor and check it out. And speaking of excellent country music, number 40... I think it's number 40. Let me just check. 50, 49, 48, 47, 46. Haha, don't you love it when I do these things live? Number 40 is Slipping Away by Pearl Charles. Pearl Charles had one of the most widely acclaimed country albums in the underground this year, and in my opinion it was very much deserved, leaning more towards an older style of pop country, think like 90s country maybe, with maybe slight elements of late 80s in there. It's just very much a throwback hit, and yet polished and refined to perfection. And don't get me wrong, it can feel a little bit too polished in moments, but the best songs in it are just too good to deny. And in my opinion, this was the best one that she released all year. Slipping Away is the kind of song that can also be taken one of two ways. It can either be a song about a relationship, a long-running relationship slowly falling apart as all the things that used to make sense just slip away and no longer make sense, or it could be a song about growing up and realizing that a lot of the things you thought to be true as a kid really aren't in the real world. I love songs where it's open to interpretation a bit, and Pearl Charles sounds so phenomenal and delivers such a killer hook that you don't really have time to stop and think about it most of the time. I definitely listened to this song a good 20 times before I even thought about what it was about. It just sounds so phenomenal. Once again, definitely an album and an artist you should be keeping an eye on going forward. What a fantastic song. Number 39, and now, once again, I'm going to do this a lot, back to Ireland. We are talking about Disco Pants with Rejie Snow, Group Therapy, and Tinashe, of all people. I will be honest, I have absolutely no idea how Rejie Snow got Tinashe on this. I haven't thought about Tinashe since that song Salt that she released a few years ago, which I still think is a great song from a slightly marred album. But yeah, I really, really do think that this might be one of my favorite things she's ever done. And the chemistry that she has with Rejie Snow on this is just phenomenal. I mean, the way that their voices blend together on that hook, how playful it sounds. She calls him daddy on this song, and it doesn't make me feel weird. It's just sensual and sexy in a way that really shouldn't work as well as it does. Basically, think something along the lines of Emotional Oranges, except with rapping. And on that note, Rejie Snow, being a Dublin-based, born and based rapper, is one of the most underrated artists currently working today. Seriously, if you're a fan of underground hip-hop in the vein of, say, let's say Open Mike Eagle, or maybe something more like Armand Hammer, you need to check out more of Rejie Snow's stuff. That being said, this is easily the most pop-friendly song he has made possibly ever, and I think it's a fantastic entry point into his music. Not exactly what you would typically expect from his music, in my experience, but definitely a song that just absolutely blew me away every time I listened to it. If you're a fan of acts like Open Mike Eagle, or actually Odyssey is another great example, I would highly recommend checking out this guy. His amazingly fantastic flow, his amazingly elastic flow means that he can rap over pretty much anything. The instrumental is smooth and just bounces left and right so pleasingly on a sonic level. And on top of that, his chemistry with Tinashe is just through the roof. If you want one of the smoothest sounding songs of the entire year, definitely check out Disco Pants. It is well worth your time. Number 38. Number 38 feels weird, but I can't deny it. It is Break My Heart by J.C. Stewart. The reason I say it's weird that I'm putting this song on the list and this high is because J.C. Stewart is basically the Irish equivalent of Shawn Mendes. He really doesn't belong on top 50 songs. Maybe top 10 hits at a stretch. But this song, it's so simple, and yet it does all the things it needs to do right. It's just a perfect example of a simple pop song, but where everything is just polished to perfection. It's a song, as you might expect, where did the stream freeze for a moment? I think it's all right. It's a song, as you might expect, where he is calling out this girl for breaking his heart, not for the first time, but for the second or third or whatever-ish time. It's essentially a song where she keeps leading him on, and he keeps going back to her, and eventually he just blows up and says, if you're going to break my heart, do it right. For God's sake, don't give me an excuse to come back to you. It's bitter, it's angry, and yet it has one of the catchiest hooks of the entire year. The guitar, while definitely pop-heavy, and you can definitely tell that the production is definitely radio-friendly, it just has so much bombast to it once the hook hits. It might just be the way that it cuts out to just the guitar line right before the official hook, and then J.C. Stewart's wailing just carries you into the full Break My Heart. It's so cathartic. In my opinion, one of the most underrated pop songs of the year, and J.C. Stewart should have had a hit this year, damn it. If not this, Too Many Nights was an easy contender. What the fuck, Ireland? Get your shit together. Anyway. Number 37. Number 37 is the only metal song on this list. Yes, shocking. But I'm usually known for not putting enough metal on these lists. What can I say? But number 37 is an act that I've talked about a couple of times before. It's Seal of Solomon by Epica. In my humble opinion, Epica is one of the best progressive and symphonic metal acts working in music today. In fact, most people, I think, will agree with that. Epica just consistently puts out gems. I can't think of an album of theirs that I don't like or love. And in my opinion, Omega, released this year, might just be the best thing they've ever done. From start to finish, it is just hook after hook, bombast, epic scope, phenomenal lyrics. Everything about the arrangement is just sky high in terms of quality, and I return to it consistently throughout the entire year. And while I will say that it normally does work as a whole better than it does as individual pieces, I just could not deny this song in particular. The best hook on the album, and one that I think just soars to high heavens. It takes everything that they were trying to do on Dancing in a Hurricane, one of my former favorite Epica songs, where it brings in the Middle Eastern influences, and then somehow makes it even better. Everything about this shouldn't work as well as it does, and yet it's so tightly woven together. The growled vocals and the clean vocals come in at just the right points. The strings are balanced across the mix so excellently, and the blend of the Middle Eastern influences with the main symphonic metal genre. I mean, it's the definition of progressive metal. What else do you want me to say? And of course, Simone Simons just sounds amazing, as always. My God, I adore this song and this album. Once again, another one to check out if you haven't. Ah, man, I am on a roll. I'm on a buzz, you know? You know when you're talking about music a lot and you get in a high? Sorry, the interval's later. 40, 39, 38, 37. Number 36. Number 36... I have a lot to say about this. Number 36 is The Right Kids by Dark Time Sunshine, featuring R.A.P Ferreira and Homeboy Sandman. There it is. So, Dark Time Sunshine released one of the most underrated hip-hop albums of 2021, if not the most underrated. Seriously, this album it just hits all my good points. It's technical, it's sharp, it's from a duo that... Sorry, yep, I'm back. It's from a duo that haven't actually released music together in years. It has A$AP Rock on it. What more do you want me to say? Everything about this album just appeals to me personally. And on top of all that, the entire arc of the album is talking up essentially the kids who weren't cool in school. The nerds, the underdogs, the ones that everyone doubted and told to shut up. Basically, the quiet kids who weren't quite as, gifted either academically, essentially, basically creative types. Why do you think I love this song so much? And this song in particular is the crux of that. All about the right kids that used to be seen as the wrong kids. The ones who are always ostracized, and yet they're the ones that you want to be keeping an eye on. They're the ones who will change the world. The ones who will receive a toy and end up playing with the box instead of the toy itself. The ones who will try and exploit all the glitches in level 1 before moving on to level 2. Everything about this song just appeals to me on a personal level. And the fact that they got both R.A.P Ferreira and Homeboy Sandman for this song is genius, because these two in particular are very much weirdos within the indie rap game, and both of their verses are absolutely great. I would obviously give the edge to R.A.P Ferreira, personally. It's just a bit more technical, and he has that fantastic line about the wrong kids were told to speak when spoken to, and then were never spoken to, which is just fantastic. Everything about this song just appeals to me as a nerdy kid who was kind of ostracized at points when I was in school. And this album, in general, especially when it comes to the points of how we medicate kids to basically try and dull down the parts of them that make them special, it just speaks to my heart. If you haven't checked out the album by Dark Time Sunshine, the name escapes me right now, but please do check it out. It's well worth your time, and this song in particular is a real gem. Oh, man, that I was passionate. I was very passionate about that. 39, 38, 37, 36. Number 35. Well, you should have expected this. Number 35, Pay Your Way in Pain by St. Vincent. Look, every year that St. Vincent releases an album, she's probably going to make this list, if we're being honest. And while Daddy's Home was definitely a departure for her, more of a throwback album with futuristic elements to create a very singularly unique experience, which critics loved for the most part, and audiences appeared to be a little more mixed on, I just absolutely loved it so much. Maybe I might still be the only person who praises Mass Seduction, but maybe I don't like it quite as much as that album. I'm sorry. Like I said, Mass Seduction just ticks a lot of right boxes for me personally. Moving on from that, though, Daddy's Home is a phenomenal album all the same, and this song was one of many that could have made it. Let's see, Melting of the Sun was going to make it at one point. Somebody Like Me was going to make it as well. But ultimately, I decided to go with this song for just being a burlesque dream come true, all about paving your way in pain from the point of view of a woman who may not have the best reputation, but who nevertheless just goes at it and doesn't really care what anyone thinks of her. People may judge her on street corners for her work ethic or what she does for a living, and yet she doesn't give a shit. She holds her head high and continues to do what she's fucking good at. It, once again, the kind of song about just being yourself, and again, really appeals to creative types, that really made me fall in love with it from first listen. Another phenomenal opening track to a great album, and a well-deserved spot on this list. Oh, number 34. You should have expected this. Number 34 is Introvert by Little Simz. Little Simz made one of the most highly praised hip-hop albums of 2021, and rightfully so. In almost every single way, I would say it supersedes her her breakout album, which once again, the name escapes me. I'm terrible with album names. The point is, everything about the album just exceeded expectations and vaulted her into the larger conversation, which is fantastic because she absolutely deserves to be in that conversation as one of the best MCs working in the rap game, or in music in general today. And this song in particular, God, there really is a pattern now that I'm saying it out loud, but it's a song about being an introvert and also standing up in the face of things that you believe in, despite the fact that it's not something that you typically like to do. Lil Simz herself is an introvert. She doesn't like to put herself on the spot or put herself in the spotlight, and yet when it comes to something that she believes in, she's going to fucking stand up for it, especially when it's talking about her own experience as a female rapper within the black community. Everything about this song is just anthemic and uplifting, and her bars are absolutely second to none. The way she deconstructs and pulls apart the entire system that we are currently living in, the lie that we're telling ourselves, that we're moving forward, and everything about it is just perfection. Now, the reason it isn't higher is because, frankly, I still don't think that she's made a song that I love as much as Boss from her last album. In my opinion, that is the best song she's ever made, and she has yet to absolutely top it for me personally. But that being said, Introvert is a tour de force of a song with a ton of bombast, production that absolutely earns her place within the hip-hop conversation and gives the lyrics the weight they deserve, and one of the best performances that Little Simz has ever put out. If you haven't checked her out yet, do yourselves a favor and fix that. I know that the accent may take a little bit of getting used to if you're American, but believe me, what she has to say is too important to overlook over something so small. All right? Number 33. I swear I'm going to start keeping count better. Number 33, Things Are Different by Picture This. Picture This have released... Oh, man. Excuse me. Picture This have released quite a few songs over the years that I've really liked, and quite a few songs that I have either haven't or have been completely indifferent on. They are probably one of the biggest acts in Irish music today, and even had a huge album bomb this past year that superseded some of the biggest acts in the American music scene, at least. But in my opinion, they have yet to release an album that I think is great all the way through. That being said, this might just be their best song to date. My God. yes, as a few people have pointed out, Ghost by Justin Bieber sounds eerily good when mixed together with it, and that part is a little distracting. But apart from that, just everything about the song is just uplifting. It's a song about how things are different, but it's a song about how things are different once you step out of, in this case, the lockdown. Basically, stepping into a brand new world where a lot of things have seemed to shift, and yet it doesn't mean that we need to let it change us as people. And it means that in the most positive way possible. It's an anthem to being hopeful and wanting to make the right changes while still staying optimistic in the face of, well, world's world changing odds. It's the kind of song that just absolutely kept me going throughout the entire year. And the moment where they played this on St. Patrick's Day in the official Irish St. Patrick's Day video, and the fireworks went up and this song just soared to the heavens as the background of it, yeah, it absolutely cemented the fact that it was going to make this list. And honestly made me feel more patriotic than I ever have before, even as somebody who never ever feels patriotic. Yeah, I was fucking proud to be Irish when this song came out. And I think this song is just absolutely phenomenal. It came so close to being a hit. I'm so mad it wasn't. But hey, you can't have everything in life. Picture this. Fantastic job, guys. You absolutely deserve this spot on this list. Number 32. Well, this is one that you probably should have expected if you've seen my best hits of 2021. Number 32. Industry Baby by Lil Nas X and Jack Harlow. I cannot put into words just how proud I am of Lil Nas X and the progress that he made throughout 2021. Not only was he my most listened to artist of the year, bar none, but every single one of his hits had something I could grasp onto, sometimes hugely. Like, he had 3 songs on my list of the best hits of 2021, and this was the best one of all. The best song on Montero, the moment where he just did a fucking victory lap around everyone who doubted him, and pulling Jack Harlow in with him, another person that everyone thought would fade away after just one song, is inspired. These two have the cockiness and the phenomenal production courtesy of Kanye West to absolutely lord it in the face of all their haters. And everything about the song just lifted me up every time I listened to it this year. One of the best hooks of the year. One of the best verses of the year from Jack Harlow. Seriously, I can't remember the last time that I sat down and actually actively tried to memorize the verse on a hit song because of how much I loved it. The internal rhyme scheme, the way that it, all the little touches of it, how elastic it is, the chemistry between these two. Everything about this song is just phenomenal, and the fact that it was as big as it was worldwide is a testament to just how special it is. Montero, the song, may have laid the groundwork, but in my opinion, this one was the one that knocked it out of the park. And the fact that it's this high on my list of the top 50 songs of the year overall should speak volumes as to just how fantastic it is. Phenomenal job, guys. Ooh. Number 31. Funny enough, my voice is aching a little bit, so it's the perfect time for number 31, Stop Making This Hurt by Bleachers. Once again, much like St. Vincent, every single time that Bleachers drops an album during a year, I am probably going to have at least one song from it on this particular list. Because why wouldn't I? It's Jack Antonoff's own little band that, despite his growing personality and his growing presence within the music industry, working with artists like Lorde and Taylor Swift, despite all of that, he still comes back to make an album once every few years. And there's always at least 2 or 3 songs that I absolutely adore from it, even if the albums as a whole tend to vary in terms of quality. And for me, Stop Making This Hurt was a song that I just gravitated to so much throughout the year. The first time I heard it, it took a bit of getting used to. It's definitely an awkward song, and there's an angst to it that, I mean, you expect from Jack Antonoff, but which I wasn't sure quite how well the individual elements came together as a whole. But the more I listened to it, especially in a year like this where there were moments where I was just deeply frustrated. The chorus just has a catharsis to it that is unmatched by most things released this year. Jack Antonoff is an absolute treasure, and in my opinion, this might be one of his best songs to date. Not his best. It's going to be very hard for him to make a song that I love more than Roller Coaster, with I Want to Get Better being a close second, and Don't Take the Money being a close third, to be honest. But yeah, I still absolutely adore this song. Every time I listen to it, it just makes me happy. Also, CJ's American. I didn't realize that. Sorry, that's beside the point. Anyway, I think it was because it was so big in the UK, I thought it was. Getting sidetracked. The point is, Stop Making It Hurt by Bleachers is an absolute gem. Again, love it when I do these live. Number 30. Well, on the topic of UK drill, CJ may not be from the UK as much as I thought he was, but you know who is? Much as it... Okay, with a caveat, number 30 is Bringing It Back by AJ Tracey and Digga D. Okay, let me start off by saying this. Digga D, as I have come to realize, is kind of a piece of shit who has done a lot of things that I do not agree with as a person, and he generally just seems like an asshole the more I look into him. But I will say this, his chemistry with AJ Tracey on Bringing It Back this year was too good for me to deny. As much as I don't want to give praise to an artist that I don't respect or like, once again, this is the best thing that he's released possibly ever, in my opinion. And AJ Tracey just has an absolute knack for bringing out the best in his co-stars when he feels like it and when he cares. And the interplay between these two is just phenomenal. The way that they finish each other's sentences and each other's bars, the play back and forth, the bounciness of the actual hook once it does hit, the way that it stays so fast-paced and yet dynamic, slowing down and speeding back up in certain moments, everything about it is just brilliant. It is the pinnacle of drill, well, basically UK hip-hop as a whole. Is AJ Tracey considered drill? I think he is. Either way, the point is, this song is the best rap collaboration that I heard throughout 2021. Almost. We'll get to the one that beat it in a couple of spots from now. But for now, this song absolutely deserves a lot more attention. And AJ Tracey is still one of the most talented rappers working in the UK rap game today. I will hear no word to the contrary. Number 29. Number 29. It's an Ed Sheeran song, and probably not the one you were expecting. Number 29 is Overpass Graffiti by Ed Sheeran. I definitely had to think about this one. I knew I was only allowed one song per artist, and I knew that every person out there was going to expect me to put the big Ed Sheeran song of this year, which was So Much Has Changed Since Visiting Hours. That. Which was Visiting Hours. And I understand why, and don't get me wrong, I love Visiting Hours. And again, it made my list of the best hits of 2021. But the more I listened to it, the more I felt like some of the elements of the production didn't really agree with me, or that it was a bit too polished. Again, the live performance of it was the first one I saw, and maybe that skewed my view of it a little bit. But once the official version came out, I just didn't enjoy it as much. However, I genuinely do think that Overpass Graffiti is the best song on the album. I mean, for one, it's a song about a girl who he used to have a relationship with, then things fell apart, and yet despite the fact that she probably now hates his guts and that all her friends hate him, there is still a part of him that is going to continue to treasure the memories they had together. He's going to keep going into the future knowing that the relationship between them may have changed, but despite everything, she'll never fade from his memory in the way that he probably will from hers. There's something so wistful about it, and once it hits that chorus, it's one of the best ones he's ever done. It really does remind me of Castle on the Hill in terms of the swell of it, and yet the pop nature of it almost makes it, I don't want to say better, but it definitely makes it a tad more accessible to me, at least. I'm still wouldn't call this my favorite Ed Sheeran song. He's definitely made better on other albums. But for me, this is the best song off of Equals. And again, it's still on the Irish charts as we speak. It just barely missed the 2021 year-end list. Maybe it'll make the 2022 one, although it seems unlikely. I am hoping for the best. We'll see how it works out. In the meantime, though, this song is absolutely phenomenal. One of the catchiest things that I heard all year, and one of the songs that grew on me the most throughout the year as well. If you still haven't checked it out for some reason, I'm pretty sure it crossed over to the US, it got so big. Definitely fix that. Number 28. By the way, guys, after number 26, we're going to take a quick break, so stay tuned for that. Number 28 is Kids Don't End Up Like Me by The Academic. My God, I remember talking about The Academic back in 2017, I believe. Their album was one of the first Irish albums that I was ever requested to review, and I could see a lot of potential there. I really did like their music. I just thought that not all the songs came together quite as well as they could have, even though Why Can't We Be Friends is still a phenomenal song to this day. But when they showed back up this year on Musical McCool, I was just so happy to see them back. They're just such a talented band that has such a large international following for some reason, and I just absolutely love it whenever I come across them. And in my opinion, Kids Don't End Up Like Me is possibly the best song that they've ever made. It's a song about not wanting to be a role model. After all, sometimes you want to set that good example, you want to be the person that people look up to, and yet sometimes you also know that you're really not the best person for that, and that people would really be better off if they just turn the other way. I don't know if this has something to do... I don't know if this is autobiographical in some sense, and if the band themselves wants to shy away from the spotlight that they've been put under, because they really do seem like an indie band who have somehow just got a ton of praise and critical acclaim behind them, and have never seemed quite that comfortable in the spotlight. But whether there's metatext or not, there is just so much about this song that I love. The chorus is one of the best of their entire careers. Once again, probably the best, and one of the best of the entire year as well. And that feeling of not wanting to be in the spotlight and not wanting all that attention is something that, to a degree, I can relate to some degree. I am still a theatre kid, after all. I do like some praise and adulation. Anyway, point is, if you haven't checked out Kids Don't End Up Like Me by The Academic, fix that. And check out the rest of their music too. They are well worth your time. Number 27. Number 27 is another big one. And once again, I'm fairly certain... Yep, it is my favorite rap collaboration of 2021. It's Family Ties, you guys. Family Ties by Baby Keem and Kendrick Lamar. What can I say about this song that hasn't been said by 100 other people? The first time you listen to it, you don't really know what to expect, and then you're just hit with absolutely everything that you didn't even know you wanted. And a lot of people have said that Kendrick completely steals the show here, but the more I listened to it, the more I liked Baby Keem's part. He knows to pick good production for himself, and his flow, while definitely slower than Kendrick's, is so consistent. Like, specifically that part where all the instrumentals cut back except for that flute line, his breath control is just incredible. And the part at the end where he's trading bars with Kendrick there's so much raw chemistry there. Again, I know these guys are cousins, which has been thrown around a lot, but even on his own merit, Baby Keem has so much unique personality to him that I think he doesn't get enough praise for. Yes, I know that he sounds like a lot of other people in the game, but his technique is definitely a cut above. And yeah, on top of that, the production is phenomenal, especially with those horns. But yes, if we're going to be real, Kendrick Lamar does steal the show here. I mean, we haven't heard from Kendrick in years, and everyone was asking for more music, asking where he's been, and when he finally does come out, he hits you with about 15 different flows. He hits you with about the same amount of unique catchphrases and quotable bars, and he completely changes the song and bends it to his will. The instrumental shifts as he just pronounces himself as the Omega. Everything about the song is stuff I didn't realize I wanted and which I didn't really know what to make of when I first heard it, but the more I returned to it, the more I absolutely adored it. Every part of it works way better than it should. It's just lightning in a bottle, and I'm not surprised that Baby Keem wasn't able to recapture it on the album, even when teaming up with Kendrick again, to be honest with you. But yeah, for one glowing, shining moment, this song was an absolute shining star that just continued to shine brighter and brighter throughout the year. God, I love Family Ties. Definitely one of the best rap songs of 2021, as many of you would probably agree with. Ugh, sorry, just the beat switch. Smoking on your top 5 tonight. Again, God, just the quotables. Moving on before I get carried away to number 26. I'm back. Sorry about that. Number 26 is Opera on the Top Floor by Jack O'Rourke. Nope. Sorry. That's the wrong song. If you recognize those first opening measures, though, you have a friend in me. Number 26, Opera on the Top Floor by Jack O'Rourke. So this is actually a Cork-based artist, Cork in Ireland, for those of you who don't know that. And the first time that I heard it, I was just stunned. It's the kind of music that almost feels more like poetry than it does music. The way that he just turns a phrase, his way with words, everything about it just screams genuine songwriter to me. The kind of songwriter that doesn't belong anywhere near the charts and yet somehow landed a song on the homegrown charts this year, and I got to talk about it on Musical McCool. And then Jack O'Rourke actually shared that passage that I wrote about him on Twitter and got me a load of other people who followed me. So thanks very much, man. And also sorry that I never got back to you on that other song that you asked me to review. I think I gave you my initial thoughts in the DMs, but I never actually officially reviewed it. It was great too, but this was better. Opera on the Top Floor is elegant, it's majestic. It's a song about a bartender serves his who serves his various regulars almost like a conductor conducting his different instruments in an orchestra. And yet, even despite the fact that he lives a fairly simple life and where people are trying to connect with him, there's a part of him that doesn't really want to connect to the real world and instead wants to escape upstairs to his own flat above the bar where he listens to opera and escapes, riding with those Valkyries. It's so poetic and so beautiful, and the instrumental with the strings and the phenomenal piano matches it perfectly. It's soothing, it's beautiful, and Jack O'Rourke's voice is just one of the most beautiful things I heard in 2021, especially with that multi-tracking. And again, there is also a weird balance of joy and sadness between it, where on the one hand, yes, he's going upstairs to escape to his fantasy world, and yet you have to be reminded that it's not real and that he's refusing to engage with the real world beneath him. Even when people are trying to engage with him, he just smiles, shakes his head, keeps a distance, and then escapes back upstairs. There's something profoundly beautiful and yet profoundly sad about this song that, once again, I can only describe as sheer poetry. Opera on the Top Floor is a song that not nearly enough people have heard or have talked about, but it absolutely deserves to be held up as one of the best songs of the past year. Definitely check it out. And with that being said, we have reached the halfway point. Thank you so much for watching so far. I'm going to take a quick break. Again, we will be fully back in about 10-15 minutes. I'll say we'll come back at 10 past, basically. I think that works for most people. And also, if you do want to stick around, I'll be reading the chat in just a couple of minutes just to see if anyone has anything interesting to say. So, hey, if you have some thoughts and you'd like me to see them, I will get to them in just a couple of minutes. Post them in the live chat. I will be right back with you. Beautiful.
doing well, dude.
Right then, thank you for your patience. Again, we're not actually starting again till 10 past, but hey, let's see if anyone has anything interesting to say in the live chat. And hell, if you left a question and then left, again, there will be a video version of this going up at some point. Let me see what you guys have to say. So, going back to the very beginning. Music. Jeremy U. Reeves, you think that Jeremy Hughes review. Sorry, buddy. I always misread your name. I bet Paper Cuts will be in the top 5. You can certainly hope so. I know you like that song. Let's just see here. Well, I'm glad you've been enjoying it. Smooth. Love the sport. I see you around a lot. Really appreciate it. Let me just have a look. Also, if you hear a cat meowing in the background, it's fine. Oh, Mo. I thought that was you. Thanks so much to the Mode Reviews for showing up for this. You just don't see the appeal of Lemonhead. It's great. I mean, maybe it's just because I like the bombast, and I don't know. I've felt more of a taste for trap music in the last few years, which is weird considering how much I made fun of it for years and years. Corso is a banger. I'm in full agreement with that. Let's see. Flower Boy, I don't know, because part of me does want to agree that Flower Boy is Tyler's best album, but the more I listen to Call Me If You Get Lost, the more it just connects with me more. And there's more, I don't want to say there's more variety, because that's not true. I think there's there's actually more consistency, if anything. I like the consistency of the sound, personally. And yes, you were very welcome that I introduced you to James. I'm glad I was able to help you with that. Yeah, James Vincent McMorrow's Planes in the Sky, definitely the best thing that I heard from him this year. The off season. Thank you. Again, really surprised to hear that CJ is American. Oh, excuse me. Hello, Neil's Music Reviews. Thank you for joining us. Thanks again, the Mode Reviews, for saying that I'm doing well. I don't know how my voice is holding up, to be honest, but I have had some water during the interval, so yay. Let me just have a look. Thanks, Tia Lux. I missed talking to the camera too sometimes. Maybe it'll happen more. Who knows? Yeah. Things Are Different is a song about how things are different. Again, when you're doing it live, you're going to say some dumb things. I'm pretty sure I've gotten like 10 or 12 facts wrong over the course of this video, and said a lot of stupid things where I repeat myself. Good to see you, RCMC Reviews. Oh yeah, and you're right. My number one worst song of the year is awful. It's so bad. If you haven't checked out my list of the top 15 worst songs of all 2021, I want to recommend it, because obviously it's something I put some effort into, but it's also just such awful music that doesn't deserve any sort of credit. Numbers 1 to, I want to say 1, 2, and 3, but really 1 and 2 in particular just grind my gears so much. Let me just have a look. Hello, Razamatraz. Hello, Razamatraz. Good to see you. Overpass Crew was playing in my head earlier today. Nice. Well, then you're very welcome. Wait, yeah, you're right. It only charted for like a week on Billboard, which is weird because you'd think Ed Sheeran would have had more traction. But yeah, Equals really didn't make a dent in the US at all, from what I saw, which is, to me at least, a little odd and a little okay, concerning because I'm an Ed Sheeran fan. There, it's on record. I mean, I've said it multiple times. Whatever. Um, Traitor topped my best list. You talking about Traitor by Olivia Rodrigo? I'm guessing. Yeah. The one Olivia Rodrigo single that I genuinely just do not care about or like all that much, to be perfectly honest. In my opinion, it's the weakest song on Sour. Still not a bad song, and there are elements of it that I do like, but yeah, Traitor just does nothing for me. Especially with the chorus, just "You betrayed me." That's so overwrought. Not for me. Yes, Neil's Reviews Music. Thank you for the support for the academic. They absolutely deserve it. Family Ties is great. Fully agree with that. Did I didn't actually listen to Weezer's album in the end. I almost did multiple times, but never actually did. To be honest, I really liked the White Album, but ever since then they just haven't released anything I like, which is a shame because I well, I don't know. I wouldn't call myself the biggest Weezer fan in general, to be perfectly honest with you. They've released a couple of albums I think are great, and then there's the rest of it. But I also am not one of those people who's just going to go around saying, "Oh, Weezer's awful." I don't care. Let me just see here. Also, I am aware that I'm going to kick this back off again in about 5 minutes. Let me just see here. What do you think of the Irish Eurovision entry this year? I actually haven't heard it yet. I think it's because Maps last year was just so goddamn boring that I did not care. I was so pissed off that that's the song that we picked to push forward. All the Irish music I listened to this year, that's the bore fest we decided to pick. God, I hate the selection process. But yeah, I will eventually check it out probably because it will probably get talked about on the blog at some point. What are your thoughts on A92's Plugged In freestyle, aka the biggest ever plugged in freestyle, which brought Irish drill to the UK? I think I talked about it at some point. I'm pretty sure I did. No, I didn't because it came out I think just before I started Musical McCool. I love it. I think it's great. I do think that it's one of those weird ones where I don't think the members that I normally praise the most do the best, as far as I remember anyway. I don't think Offica did as good of a job as I wanted to. I don't think he did as good of a job as I wanted him to. But I think Debo was still pretty good, and there's a couple of the other ones. Again, sometimes the names just escape me in general. But yeah, if you want a really good A92 song from this year, which just barely missed this list, I would recommend Swing and Duck. Swing and Duck is phenomenal. Really, really excellent. It's the only non-Offica song. I'm pretty sure I'm saying Offica right. It's the only non-Offica song that could have made this list, and I think it's phenomenal. Let's have a look here. Your worst of 21 list was great. Thank you so much. Despite the fact that I was so angry while writing it, I did enjoy making it. So thank you for that. Yeah, you're right. It is a shame. Equals was a good album. I genuinely do believe that, by the way. I know that it had some pop compromises to it, but I do genuinely think it was a good album. I really enjoyed it. But anyway, one or two weak points, but that's to be expected. And also a lot of even the songs that I didn't like at first, like it's an album that wears you down, I think, because like even Shivers, which I have just bombarded multiple times on the blog this year, I do find myself liking more than I used to. So yeah. My top two worst songs of this year are also songs I'd call abhorrent and grind my gears. Again, I don't know if you shared a link with me, but I think you did, and I just didn't get around to it. But if you haven't, put it in the comments of that community post, and I'll make sure to check it out. What are some of your favorite Belgian artists? I don't really know that many, so I'm just going to say Lost Frequencies because Lost Frequencies is big right now. Also Stromae because it's Stromae. So of course I'm going to praise Stromae. I'm extremely late, but I'm happy Gravity made the list. You're very welcome. I'm a huge fan of both artists, and it was probably the song I listened to the most throughout all of 2021. Good pick. Absolutely. Absolutely love Gravity. One of my most played songs of the year as well. The mood reviews. I know you'll probably cover some of these when you get to Musical and McCool for this year, but are there any songs that have charted in Ireland from the past 6 weeks that you really love? Yes. And the mode reviews specifically will get this. I absolutely adore that new H and RD collab War. I think it's phenomenal. I was not expecting to like it as much as I am. I don't know if that's a controversial pick. I just think it sounds amazing. Also, I love Encanto, so that should give you an idea. Once again, I'll be talking about all the songs I've missed very soon, maybe in the next week or two. But yeah, those basically War and those songs, and also there's again I'll be talking about them all soon, but that's one that I definitely want to highlight. I love that song. For definitely didn't have any expectations for it. Last couple of questions. If you haven't listened to my top two, stay far away from them. No, I want to listen. And you're heading off, so bye. RCMC reviews. Great. And with that being said, we are just about ready to start again. So let me just make sure I'm hydrated. We are heading into the top half of this list, and it is going to get heavy in spots. Just a fair warning moving forwards. Stay hydrated, everyone. Also, please nobody Photoshop that. Anyway, let's see how that works out for me. Moving on. Let's do this. Number 25. We are at the halfway point. If you're just joining now, welcome back. Number 25, I Have a Love by For Those I Love. This is by far the artist that surprised me the most throughout 2021. The discovery I'm the most grateful to have made by doing this series. It's such a unique album that For Those I Love put out this year. Such a personal album. The kind of album that you can't recreate, to be perfectly honest. And that's why it is my favorite album of 2021, which it might surprise some of you that a song from it is this low on the list, considering that fact, but that's only because it's an album that works so well as a whole. Seriously, it's a listening experience that is very niche, and you do have to get over the accent once again, but I think it's the most emotional, heartfelt, and just gutting album that I've heard. That one of the most gutting albums I've heard in years. And on top of that, it's mostly an electronic album, which is even more stunning that I connect with that much. But anyway, moving past that, this song in particular is the main song from it that kept leading the charts and then re-entering for a few weeks. And it is the song that, in my opinion, basically cements everything that's amazing about it. It's a song basically pledging his love for his dead friend, even putting a space in the middle where all the instrumentals fade back a bit to just a distant bell, weirdly warping atmospherics, and a distorted clip of his friend and him laughing together. Again, the entire album is dedicated to his dead friend Paul, and this song in particular as a just serves as a goodbye, a farewell, one where he says that his love for his friend, despite everything, will never die. That love will persist in his art, and with it, the memory of Paul will persist as well. Everything about it, from the spare atmospherics to just the tone of it, is just heartbreaking, especially with the faded background vocals repeating, "I have so many doubts," not knowing if this is the right thing to do to honor his friend, but doing it anyway because it's the only coping mechanism he can really think of, the only way he knows to really honor him, to continue making the music that they used to make together. Everything about the song just hits me emotionally. If you haven't checked out this album, I wouldn't be surprised, not many people heard it, but in my opinion it is the most underrated album of 2021, as well as the best album of the year as a whole. Once again, very much a niche listen, but this song in particular just brings a fucking tear to my eye every time I listen to it. Or at the very least gets me choked up while talking about it. God damn. Moving on. Number 24. Well, like I said, we're going to keep on the emotional train. Number 24 is Nothing New by Taylor Swift and Phoebe Bridgers. I said before that All Too Well was a tour de force. All Too Well, Taylor's version, the 10-minute version, is a song that just leaves me completely speechless and easily measures up to some of the best songs that she's released over the past few years, particularly on Folklore and Evermore. But this song was even better somehow. Her chemistry with Phoebe Bridgers is undeniable, but also not a surprise. After all, they run in such similar circles, especially lyrically. And they have similar audiences as far as I understand, even if Taylor's is a lot bigger. But Phoebe Bridgers has been having a lot of praise and exposure the last couple of years, and good for her. She deserves it. Anyway, this song just absolutely tears my heart out every time I listen to it. It's a song about growing older and slowly find yourself becoming redundant. You're nothing new. There's nothing fresh that you bring. And yet somehow you have to live with people still calling you a role model. There's so much going on in this song, from the pressure of needing to live up to everybody's expectations, to just being a woman in society and being told to be all of one thing and then having everything that you've learned unravel once you become an adult and are faced with the real world. Everything about the song is emotional, it's heartfelt, and the two women just play off each other perfectly. And again, you have the moment that absolutely seals the fact that it was going to be on this list, where a person who listened to their music growing up and who learned from the lessons that they taught them come over, thank them for everything that they've done, thank the two of them for helping them keep their shit together, as they say, "You're welcome," and then proceed to go cry in the next room as they try to figure out, if I can inspire other people to get their shit together, how come I'm such a fucking mess? How am I falling apart so much the more I grow up? Yeah, it's an emotion that I think a lot of us can relate to the older we get from time to time. And what better artists to deliver that and put that into words than these two? Again, considering just how many times Taylor released music this year, and I thought it was all right or not as good as the original, this deep cut from that re-release of Red just absolutely blew me away. If you haven't checked out the re-release, this song and All Too Well, the 10-minute version, are really worth it all on their own. Definitely make the time and give these two all the praise they deserve. Ugh. Number 23. Number 23 is going to be a change in tone, and thankfully is also going to be a respite from the emotions for me. Number 23 is a fucking banger. Town's Dead by Kojak. Industrial hip-hop at its finest. Almost. There is one more industrial hip-hop song that is going to be a little bit more visceral later on this list, but for now, Kojak, ladies and gentlemen, one of the best artists that I discovered in 2021, an Irish rapper who very much emulates everything that I've loved about underground hip-hop for years. He's experimental, he's incredibly smart, he's got a way with words that is absolutely undeniable. He doesn't bother to compromise his accent in any way, absolutely letting you have it that he is from Dublin and mostly proud of it. Everything about it just oozes Dublin energy. And this song in particular is his ode to the town that he loves so much, even though he realizes it's a fucking nightmare-scape. Seriously, no song better captures the experience of living in Dublin than this song, with the sirens, the noise from every single direction, the elements of jazz and beauty that pop in now and again to somehow still make it seem bearable and melodic, and of course Kojak absolutely losing his damn mind across the entire thing. Specifically that line on the chorus about you can try to house share, try renting, bit of money for the landlord's pension. No lines have better summed up what it's like to live in in Dublin City better than that. in my opinion, this song just absolutely rules. Kojak's album from this year was an absolute tour de force, and while once again, many songs from that album could have made this list, it's seriously one of the best hip-hop albums of 2021. The title track is the one that kept bringing me back again and again. Once again, one of the songs that I played the most throughout the year, and for damn good reason. An underrated gem that deserves a ton more attention. No warning, this town's not dead, it's just dawning. Also, side note, best music video of the year. Fight me. Number 22. Number 22 is another Irish song that many of you probably haven't heard, but fuck it, it is absolutely phenomenal. It is Say Something by Jay Pryor and Chaila. I am stunned by this song every time I listen to it. When I think of house music in particular, a lot of it doesn't really appeal to me. It's not really a genre that I'd ever go to. It's, you know, I prefer songs that are very lyrically based, maybe with a bit of storytelling. I don't really like it when a beat builds up and then drops. And yet on this song, they just master that tension perfectly. The build-up is certainly there, but once it hits, the bass that comes in is subtle, it's dynamic, it's exciting, it keeps you on your toes. It doesn't feel like a letdown either, because you know the real build-up is still coming. The vocals on it are atmospheric and bendy, that in a way that remind me of the very best of an artist like Arca. And again, the best part of the song, when the second build-up comes up and builds to its apex, and suddenly the drones come in. The entire instrumental just blares out, reminding me of a song like Real Life by The Weeknd, maybe, in terms of just the bombastic, horn-like instrumental that just echoes across the mix. It has so much power and originality to it. They could have just made this a generic club song, and yet they make it so exciting and so fresh and so unique. Again, there's real talent in the Irish EDM scene. Again, a genre that I don't normally gravitate to if you're willing to look. I mean, I'll just let this speak for itself. Oh, it's cavernous, it's echoing, it's titanic. It just commands your attention in a way that I cannot possibly put into words better than it can. Once again, this video is probably going to get demonetized and flagged in record time, but hey, I'm happy to be talking about it right now. This song rules, one of the most underrated of 2021. Ah, wonderful. And now, fine, we'll get back to something more of you know. Number 21. Yep, number 21. I mean, do I even need to say it? It's Brutal by Olivia Rodrigo. I was a little on the fence as to whether I was going to put this on the list, because for the longest time I was very convinced that Good For You was the pinnacle of that album and that nothing would top it. But the more I listened to Brutal, especially the way that elegant string comes in to open up the album, before the real crushing weight of reality sinks in with those thundering, crunchy, grimy 90s grunge guitars, everything about it is just awesome. Plus, I absolutely love the lyrics. Olivia Rodrigo is almost muttering to herself in a panic as she wonders about all these things that really don't matter that much, but as a young adult or a teenager, they're the most important things in the world, and you can feel that angst and that energy pummel through on that chorus. She's relentlessly upset. Everyone's telling her that these are the golden years of her life, and yet she doesn't want anyone to see here. God, it's brutal out here. My God, that line is just so quotable. I've said it so many times this year. It is the best thing that Olivia Rodrigo has done to date. From an album that really is so much better than it has any right to be. Every time I go back to Sour, I like it more and more. And this song, serving as the opener, is one of the main reasons why. I cannot give it enough credit. I love the fact that somebody, a pop artist who's trying to make it, decided to make a 90s throwback song when everyone else is talking about the 80s. Everything about this song deserves so much praise. And my God, the ego crushes so severe line, definitely something that I felt at times in 2021, that's for damn sure. Absolutely phenomenal, but you all know that. Number 20. Okay, number 20 is going to take a quick second because, fun fact, number 20 is not on Spotify. And I'm a little worried about playing it, but the more I think about it, the more I really want to. So give me one quick second here. Yep. This is so professional, you guys. Right. Oh boy, I really want to play this, but at the same time I'm worried about the video getting demonetized. Or not even demonetized, but completely blocked and flagged. I'm on the fence. You know what? I might come back to it at the end of the video. I'll put it that way. Number 20, it's Hazard Duty Pay by JPEG Mafia. Look, the fact that JPEG Mafia couldn't even clear the sample to get this song on Spotify, it already doesn't give me much hope that he's going to, you know, that I'm going to be able to play it. So instead, fuck it. I'm just going to play Rebound, my second favorite song from LP. Oh my God. JPEG Mafia deserves so much praise. LP was the culmination of everything that he has been pushing for years now. Pretty sure the pronoun is he. He or they. I'll say they, just to be on the safe side. JPEG Mafia just relentlessly has been one of the most polarizing and challenging figures to talk about within hip-hop music these past few years. And yet, in 2021, finally broke through with basically their most accessible album to date. Like, it's weird to call this album accessible because it is weird, it is warping, it is bombastic, and it definitely alienates certain casual hip-hop listeners. But if you're a fan of experimental hip-hop, you cannot ignore JPEG Mafia. Everything about the music just speaks to me on a spiritual level. Once again, if you're just tuning in now, Rebound is the song that's playing, and it's phenomenal, but Hazard Duty Pay is the song that we're actually talking about. Because, I mean, that sample all alone is worth it. And yes, I know the sample is why it wasn't cleared, and why I can't talk about it yet. Again, I'll pull it up later. But yeah, it's just undeniable. A perfect use of a sample and blending it with hip-hop in a way that I haven't heard done as well since Kanye West, plus the incredible bars, plus the energy. Everything about it is just absolutely undeniable. And yes, I will admit the fact that it wasn't allowed on most streaming platforms. It wasn't allowed to make the digital release of the album because he couldn't clear the sample. That is one of the reasons why I played it so much out of sheer spite in 2021, because JPEG Mafia deserves all the credit in the world. Absolutely love the song, and this one too. I really should have planned better for this. Ah well, it's live. Number 19, The Hurt You Gave Me by Robert Grace. Now, this is one where a lot of people might once again point to Break My Heart by J.C. Stewart and go, wait, why are you putting such a poppy song in your top 50? And while Break My Heart, I can somewhat see the argument, The Hurt You Gave Me is too perfect to ignore. It is practically a perfect pop song, and one of the most bitter ones that came out in the past year. It's a song where essentially Robert Grace has just been put through a breakup and is being told how to deal with his hurt by his ex, to which he promptly says, fuck you, you don't get to tell me what I do with this hurt, it's my own, and I'm going to indulge in all of my worst impulses, just to feel better. Everything about the song is about feeling let down, feeling betrayed, knowing that you're gonna fuck up, that you're gonna call someone back when you really shouldn't. It's about knowing just what a mess you are and not fucking giving a shit. A song that I desperately needed to hear in 2021. And to be clear, before anyone starts rambling about any theories or anything, no, I didn't go through a breakup in 2021. I just was in a certain mood. That's all. And yeah, this song, absolutely phenomenal. Should have crossed over. I'm really surprised that Robert Grace hasn't had a hit in Ireland yet, considering his star just continues to rise. But hopefully, if it continues to rise within the next couple of years, we will start hearing him on the radio more often, because he so desperately deserves it. one of the best artists that I discovered throughout this past year, and one of the ones that I will continue to champion for as long as I do this. Number 18. Number 18. Well, remember how towards the start of this list, we talked about Black Country New Road? What was the other big experimental rock act to make waves in 2021? That's right. Number 18 is Slow by Black Midi. Once again, quite a few Black Midi songs could have made this list. John Elle was just barely edged out. Honestly, again, if I wasn't doing a one song per artist limit, John Elle would have made this list. But ultimately, Slow is the one that I love the most, purely for how dynamic it remains throughout its runtime. It never slows up. The horns are relentless. The muttering... The low muttering is absolutely amazing, and every single time that I think that it's going to get stale or that I'm getting tired of a passage, it switches it up instantly. The entire song is just a roller coaster. Also, if you can't hear it right now, it actually is very quiet in spots. Once again, it plays with a loud, soft dynamic in a way that I absolutely adore. One of the more experimental rock albums to be released this year, and honestly, one that I might prefer to For Those I Love. Maybe it kind of goes back and forth. Cavalcade is possibly the album I like more purely because they've got more experience, whereas Black Country New Road have outright said that Black Midi is a huge influence, and sometimes you just got to leave it to the masters because my god, Slow is an absolute godsend. Once again, one of the most trippy and roller coaster type songs that I heard all year, and absolutely the injection of adrenaline that I needed at certain points of 2021. What an experience. Number 17. Number 17 is I Wish You Would Have Been a Cowboy by Adeem the Artist. If you have been paying attention to indie country in any capacity this year, you will have heard of this song, if not the entire album. Adeem the Artist made waves with this specific song this year when they released a song calling out one of the biggest artists who is currently working in country music, Toby Keith. Specifically calling him out for his appropriation of country stereotypes in order to push forward a message that absolutely is not representative of Adeem the Artist's actual life experiences living out in the country. More accurately, a right-wing tendency that borderlines racism, which he really wasn't called out for enough throughout his heyday. It's a song that is just expressing profound disappointment as a former fan of the guy and wanting desperately and hoping desperately or wishing desperately that he really could have been one of those cowboys standing up for the weak, and yet instead he's just parading around like a fucking clown in a culture that isn't his and trying to prop up fascism, essentially, which they outright say on the song. Once again, Adeem the Artist, one of the most incredible artists to come out this year, especially with that amazing album, Cast Iron Pansexual, which I highly recommend you check out, especially if you're somebody from the LGBTQ community who occasionally feels that country doesn't tailor to you. Trust me, if you want a song from from the perspective of an artist who has been through the fucking gambit of emotions when it comes to questioning their sexuality and trying to fit in a culture that really isn't very expecting of them, really isn't accepting of them, highly recommend that album. And this song, more than any, is the one that I return to the most. So catchy, so profound, so personal. What more is there to say? Number 16. Number 16, the artist won't surprise you, the song might. It is Don't Need You by Genesis Owusu. Genesis Owusu had one of the biggest breakthroughs of 2021, a hugely praised artist within the hip-hop scene that has basically been touted as one of the best newcomers in the game throughout 2021. And yeah, it's absolutely deserved. The album was phenomenal, and song after song was just a winner. And while I know a lot of you were probably expecting Gold Chains to go on this list as the obvious example, as the obvious song that everybody's praised. For me at least, I returned to this song a lot more throughout the year. Once again, did not go through a breakup, but was definitely in a bitter mood. And hell, this song isn't just directed at some ex telling them that you don't need them. It's also very much a song talking to all the people that have doubted him or dragged him down over the years. Genesis Owusu has come to the conclusion of, wait, could it be true? I don't need you. And saying it in the most over-the-top, happy way possible. Again, I didn't expect a hip-hop artist from Australia, of all places, to be making so many waves throughout the hip-hop scene throughout 2021, but Genesis Owusu is so deserving of that praise, and this song is, in my opinion, the best thing that he's released to date. So much catharsis, so much fun. Definitely check it out if you haven't. It's an absolute riot. Number 15. Okay, let's stop dancing around this. You all made fun of me when I praised it on Twitter a few months ago, but I stand by it, and if it had been a hit in Ireland, god damn it, it would have topped my list of the best hits of that year. Number 15 is Thought Shit by Megan Thee Stallion. Because, of course. I won't say I've been on the fence about Megan Thee Stallion, but I have been questioning whether or not she is as amazing as everyone's been saying. After all, the projects have been mixed bags overall, and there are still unforgivable sins like Crybaby with DaBaby, which I will not forgive or get over. But my god, did Thought Shit absolutely change all of that. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved Megan's verse on WAP last year. I mean, Gobble Me, Swallow Me, Drip Down the Side of Me is so fucking quotable, and that's only one of a few lines in that song that stick with me to this day. But Thought Shit is all hers, and she absolutely owns every second of it. Not only is her rap skill absolutely next level, seriously, I do not understand how she manages to put these words together, especially when she goes into the double time flow towards the final verse. It's just so fucking impressive. Plus, it's one of the funniest rap songs to be released this year. Punchline after punchline that lands, and an energy that just does not let up. I am just stunned and in awe every single time I listen to this song. The instrumental doesn't need to do much. The chorus is an absolute classic on arrival, and Megan just delivers on every single second of the song. One of the most hype anthems of 2021, one of my most listened to songs of the year, easily, and definitely a song that I think deserves way more praise than some people give it. Absolutely phenomenal. Number 14. Number 14, back to Ireland. It is My Honest Face by Inhaler. Okay, let me make this clear. I am well aware that this song came out over 2 years ago, technically, but it was on their album It Won't Always Be Like This, and therefore it counts, damn it. Yeah, look, I know that many of you probably don't know this, but for those of you who live in Dublin especially, you've probably at least heard an Inhaler song at this point. They had a pretty great year, and while, no, they still haven't crossed over to the mainstream for some reason, they are just so talented. In my opinion, they're Picture This, but more consistent and more willing to experiment with different genres of rock music. It Won't Always Be Like This was just a tour de force of various rock genres, which could occasionally feel a bit messy, but the best moments more than make up for it, and the hooks are stellar. And with that being said, My Honest Face is the best thing that they have made to date. I can't get over just how amazing this song is. Maybe it's because it reminds me a little bit of Kings of Leon's Sex is on Fire, except cranked up to 11. Or maybe it's just the fact that the lyrics just really speak to me. With people begging to see your honest face and yet not really being able to show them, because if you do, you're probably going to end up hurting someone. Not that you want to hurt them, but that's just the way you were raised, how you grew up, and you don't really want to expose everyone to that. It's a song about knowing that you're not always the best person, or that you're not always the most approachable, and trying to spare other people's feelings, not because you don't trust them, but because you just don't want to hurt them. The song just has so much emotion to it, with such a soaring energy, especially with those frenetic guitars. It just does not let up throughout its runtime. Absolutely stellar, one of the best songs to be released in rock music in 2021 from one of the best relatively new acts in Irish music. If you haven't checked out Inhaler, definitely do yourselves a favor and fix that. Also, their cover of Your Power by Billie Eilish, surprisingly amazing. Just a side note. Number 13. Number 13 is actually a song that some of you may have heard, although you'd have to be looking in a very specific place. Number 13 is One Last Kiss by Hikaru Utada. Yes, there is a Japanese language song on this list. What of it? To be perfectly honest, the only reason that I am aware of this song is that a few months ago, I decided to just ask randomly on Twitter, hey, people from other countries other than the US and Ireland, send me some of the number one hits of your country. I'm just curious to see what was a number one hit over there. And somebody sent me this, which was a number one hit in Japan in 2021, and I was blown away. Hikaru Utada is probably best known for singing the opening to Evangelion, if I'm not mistaken, and is widely known as one of the best singers alive today, if you're, talking Japanese music. And really outside of that, because goddamn, she sounds like a fucking angel on this song. This song was basically my chill song of the year, whereas so much of the music from 2021 was meant to get me energized or hyped or through some difficult or bitter emotions. One Last Kiss would come on when I just wanted to be soothed back to calmness. It's so heartfelt. It's so beautiful. It's built almost like a Jamie XX song. It honestly reminds me a little bit of Loud Places with Romy. And yet it's all its own as well. Hikaru Utada has such a beautiful voice that just soothes you into this wonderful dreamlike trance. And the lyrics are just hopelessly romantic, with some English thrown in there, but mostly being in Japanese, all about sharing one last kiss with a lover that you love more than they will ever realize. Everything about the song just feels wistful and romantic and beautiful. It is one of the most beautiful songs that I heard in 2021, and despite the fact that I do not speak Japanese, it did not stop me from returning to it consistently throughout the year. If you haven't heard it, ignore the language barrier, you'll want to. Number 12. Number 12 is one that you will definitely have heard if you are into Netflix documentaries. I guess it's a documentary. Number 12 is Welcome to the Internet by Bo Burnham. Look, Bo Burnham's Inside was an experience, especially if you've been living through the nightmare of lockdown, like many of us have throughout the last couple of years. And I will admit that there are parts of it that are a little hard to revisit. But for me, the soundtrack was definitely the part that I liked the most. Yeah, parts of it were a bit clunky or I thought were a bit overrated. But Welcome to the Internet was anything but. Essentially, Welcome to the Internet is a Disney villain song where the villain is the internet. And my god, is it kooky, off the wall, weird, threatening, a ton of fun, quotable as hell. Once again, a song that I just sat and tried to memorize for ages just because of how kooky and energetic it is. It sounds like a fucking a song like a fucking haunted carnival where the energy just builds and builds and builds, and Bo Burnham talks faster and faster until finally the entire thing cuts out to a low, slow ballad, completely shifting and going into this grand, almost romantic, grandiose song about how everything here was always the way it was supposed to be. You were meant to fall in love with us. We were always going to bring you here to this point where we have you under our thumb and can influence you with just the flick of a button. You don't need to question it. Just give us all your trust. Everything about it just feels so deeply condescending, but in the best way possible, because we're all victims of this, let's be honest. And that particular line on the chorus about could I interest you in everything all of the time, apathy is a tragedy and boredom is a crime. Yeah, there's a song, out of all the songs that have come out of the last few years criticizing our relationship with the internet. This one hits the nail on the head the hardest, especially with his fucking villain laugh that comes in towards the final piano-backed outro. The song is amazing, hugely entertaining, and I just cannot get enough of the theatricality and the very good points it makes throughout its runtime. Absolutely stellar, an easy entry onto this list. Number 11 is I Don't Really Care For You by CMAT. Oh boy. CMAT was by far one of my other favorite discoveries of 2021. I was somewhat aware of her before that within the Dublin music scene. I knew that she had released some songs here and there that I'd heard and that I liked. But her game in 2021 just skyrocketed with song after song that just absolutely blew me away. And while No More Virgos was so close to making this list, again, one song per artist is a painful rule to try and stick to sometimes. Ultimately, I had to give it to I Don't Really Care For You, a song about so many conflicted and angry feelings where every single element of it is just, once again, pop perfection. There's a part of me that almost feels like CMAT is the much, much better version of an artist like Melanie Martinez, where her high-pitched vocals and almost classical or classically backwards-looking instrumental can feel a bit off-putting, but that piano line is just fucking perfection. So damn catchy. The elements play off each other beautifully in the mix, and also the lyrics absolutely kick ass as she questions why the hell this guy is villainizing her so much. They've broken up and he's dragging her name through the mud, suddenly saying after all the build-up that suddenly saying after all the build-up that she was always terrible to him and that she was, quote, a bitch, and that he doesn't really care for her any longer. Someone who she would have fucking gone into a burning building to save, who is now dragging her name through the mud. Yeah, anybody who has been through a breakup with an ex where they just seem to completely forget all the time you spend together, they can relate to this song. And for me personally, yeah, it definitely struck a chord, especially those lines about her going back through their history, trying to figure out where exactly in their history she became this villain that he's now proclaiming her to be. Everything about this song is just absolute pettiness in music, where she's genuinely hurt, but is also sarcastically parading his entire argument in front of him and deconstructing just how fucking shitty it is, because yes, she is angry by the way she's now being treated, and the catharsis is just too real to deny. Paired with one of the best hooks of the year, one of the best instrumentals of the year, this is an underrated pop gem that not enough people have heard, and which is so ready to be praised and listened to by so many more people. Listen to CMAT, damn it, you will not regret it. I loved you like a mirror, so I guess I've done the same. My God, her songwriting is next level. On to the top 10. This is it, guys, the top 10. So right before we get into it, I'm just going to quickly go through the chat just to see if there's anything. I'm sure most of you right now have just been so caught up in loving, just how amazing my list is that you don't even bother to comment, but I'm just checking. Number 9. Okay. I will listen to that song, fair enough. And yes, you're right. I wish you would have been a cowboy is amazing. Yeah, we are now on to the top 10. Again, thank you for those of you who have stuck with me up to this point. I really appreciate it. And again, looking forward to seeing the response to the playback once that goes up as well. Damn, it's already been an hour and a half. Well, I can't promise the entries are going to get shorter, but at the very least, you'll see a few things you recognize. Let's do this. Number 10. Number 10. Come on. It's Smoking Out the Window by Silk Sonic. I said on Twitter that every single single released by Silk Sonic this year made me smile and got better and better. And I stand by that. Leave the Door Open was amazing from the very first listen. Then Skate came out and blew it out of the water, and then this came out and blew both of them out the water. Smoking Out the Window is a fucking gem. Possibly the best thing Bruno Mars has ever done, and very close to the best thing Anderson .Paak has ever done. I cannot put into words just how much I fucking adore this song. It's playful, it's funny, the instrumentation is wonderful and ebbs in and out perfectly with their two vocals. Their interplay is flawless, their chemistry has no fucking bounds. Everything about the song is the best of Silk Sonic brought to light. I absolutely adore everything about it. What can I even say? It's a song where they are talking to an ex who they are talking to a girlfriend who they have given all these things to, and yet her kids are running around like they own the place, and they're not even allowed to smoke within the comfort of their own homes anymore, so they have to sit by the window shivering and smoking out there. Again, the entire song is pure melodrama, and it absolutely knows it. The song is so funny, so self-aware. Even Anderson .Paak's line about not to be dramatic, but I wanna die. It's just comedy gold. I love what these two bring out in each other, and everything about this song epitomizes just how wonderful An Evening with Silk Sonic is. The best song on the album, the best song either of these men have put out in fucking years. And again, I say that as a huge Anderson .Paak fan. It is wonderful, and while I know for a fact it's probably not going to be as big of a hit, I know for a fact it's not going to be a hit in Ireland. I just hope that maybe it does better in the US. I know that it charted for a bit in the top 10. Maybe it'll have a second win. Who knows? Point is, the song's amazing. Easily top 10 material. Number 9. Number 9 is one of my favorite country songs of the year. There's a bit less country music on this list than there would normally be because, again, a lot of the spots were just filled by Irish artists instead, and my taste in music sort of expanded throughout 2021, if I'm being honest. But anyway, the point is, number 9 is Every Day by Mac Leapart. Music City Joke by Mac Leapart is my favorite country album of 2021. I know that that's not exactly a popular opinion among some people, but I was turned on to the album specifically by the country music blog Saving Country Music, which if you're a fan of country music, read Saving Country Music. It consistently gives me some of my favorite country music every single year. And this album in particular was such a find where every single song just speaks to my soul. But in my opinion, on an album where he's basically talking about his struggle to make it big as an artist within the music industry, the best moment on the album is this one, where rather than talking about his own struggles, he talks about the struggles of his potential lover. I don't know if this is actually about his wife, but it's a song from the point of, it's a song dedicated to the wife of an artist, somebody who believes in her husband, believes in his dreams, and is trying her best to make his dreams come true. But that means a lot more of the pressure is on her, and a lot more of it is hard because she wants to support his dreams, and yet very often her own life feels so hollow and lived in service of another. And I love the empathy of this song and the mournful harmonica that comes in to back that up. And even the subtle female vocals that come in to join Mac Leapart's in moments of it as well are just fucking perfect. I love that on an album which is so focused on the struggle of the artist, he made a song like this, one where it's not about him, it's about the people around him and how they suffer, and the pressure that it adds on her to support him and him to actually make this work and succeed. It's not just about him. It's such an empathetic song, and it made it consistently one of my most revisited songs of the entire year. It gets me right in the heart every single time it plays. And while, yeah, there were some phenomenal songs on that album, absolutely phenomenal songs, my God, what an album, this was the best of them. Well done, Mac Leapart. You more than deserve your spot on this list. Number 8. Oh boy, speaking of fucking punches to the heart. Number 8 is Swear It All Again by Una Healy. When this song first came out, I compared it to a early to mid 2000s Kelly Clarkson song, where the production is very much a stock sort of pop rock structure that would have been very popular and very, radio friendly in the mid 2000s, which we now don't get in the same way. And I stand by all that. But what really got me about this song was Una Healy's performance, especially as a woman who is now divorced. The thing is, Swear It All Again is a song about wanting to stay in a relationship despite everything. She's not happy at all, but she doesn't want to admit it. Because if she admits that she's unhappy, it's all been for nothing. So rather than admitting that she's unhappy, she would swear it all again. She would remake all those promises she's made before because she doesn't want to believe that she's no longer in love and that this is actually falling apart. She's absolutely in denial and she very much knows it. Again, Una Healy had her own divorce, I think late in 2020. So there is a definite element of real pain and truth to this song that makes it hurt even more. And that bridge where she's just begging him to please give her a reason, any reason to stay in love with him and to stay with him and make this work. It's a cry of desperation that leads into that final guitar solo that just aches every single time I hear it. So much pain, so much conflict in such a fucking accessible package and from such an expressive performer. There's a reason that Swear It All Again is, once again, an Irish gem that deserves so much more praise. God damn. Number 7. Okay, let's lighten things up a bit. Kind of. Look, it's me. You should have expected this. Number 7 is Shy Away by 21 Pilots. Look, I'm a 21 Pilots stan. I've been saying it for years, and while Scaled and Icy is definitely not as good as their last album, Trench, I will say that Shy Away might be my favorite song they've ever done. Which is weird because it's not exactly... Well, it's definitely one of their catchiest. Let's start with that. It's sort of a Strokes ripoff, I will say that, but I don't care because it sounds so phenomenal. The guitars are incredible. The chorus just soars like no other. It's so fucking catchy. Like, even people who didn't like Scaled and Icy, and there were many of them, they had nice words to say about Shy Away. It's a song about wanting to... It's a song about encouraging you to face up to expectations, not even though every single instinct is telling you to run away, putting yourself out there and doing it despite the struggle and without the fear and despite the fear. Again, there is a lot of subtext about Tyler dealing with his own personal demons, which have come back with a vengeance ever since his recovery on Trench. And it's just so nervous and yet hopeful and defiant, wanting to stay hopeful and optimistic in the face of everything. And once again, pairing it with one of the best fucking hooks of their careers. This song just made me soar every time I listened to it. And while, once again, it's not their best album or their most high concept, this song just speaks to me every single time I listen to it. Neon Gravestones is probably still their most impressive song, but if I had to pick a new favorite, Shy Away is a fucking strong contender. I'm going to see these guys live, hopefully around June or July, and I cannot fucking wait. God. Number 6. Okay. You all knew this was coming. Number 6 is Let 'Em Burn by Emily Scott Robinson. Oh, okay. So if you haven't heard Traveling Mercies by Emily Scott Robinson, it is one of the only albums I've ever considered giving a 10 out of 10 to. It is perfection in country music. One of the best albums of the last decade. And the fact that it was a breakout album, practically a debut. I mean, yeah, she had one before that, which I think is it called Homecoming Queen? I think so. The point is, this was her big follow-up to her perfect album. And it couldn't possibly live up to the expectation. How the hell could she possibly come close to matching songs like Run or The Dress or Ghost in Every Town? She couldn't, right? And yet, this song just absolutely shattered me on first listen. Again, wasn't the only song that could have made it. Cheap Seats, Hometown Hero, Lightning in a Bottle, Trouble Comes a-Lookin'. Yeah, the album is absolutely phenomenal. American Siren is absolutely an amazing follow-up, if not quite as strong as the first album. But with all that being said, Let 'Em Burn might actually match the very best of Traveling Mercies. And it also hits a very personal note for me, because this is a song about a woman who has done everything by the book, specifically the Holy Bible, setting up an entire perfect life with a picket fence, children, giving up all of her dreams in service of the Lord, and yet finding herself in church never having felt the Holy Spirit, and instead wondering if she's just wasted her life, given up all her dreams, and instead wasted it. Finding herself in her middle age and wondering if it's too late. Ugh. Lying on the floor crying and just wondering if it was all worth it. Taking a moment for herself where she just breaks down in tears. And yet, despite that, there is a glimmer of hope. A glimmer of hope that just keeps the spark alive. A spark that might actually grow to a fire and burn her entire life down. And there's that aching question of whether she is actually going to do it. Whether she's going to burn everything she's built to follow her passions. Because after all, maybe it's not too late. Maybe there could be a new beginning. And Emily Scott Robinson is actually smart enough not to answer that question. Because either way, people are going to get hurt, whether it be herself or the people around her, and it might not work out. There's so much risk involved, and yet the bottom line is that she's not happy. There's so much going on in this song, so much raw emotion, and especially as someone who is a Reformed Catholic, yeah, there was definitely a part of me that resonated with this, especially that fucking line about what if desire is a gift and not a sin. My God, her way with words is unparalleled. Again, if you have not been listening to Emily Scott Robinson, I don't fucking care if you're a fan of country music or not. If you're just a fan of crying at music, listen to her. She is unparalleled currently in the music industry. Oh, God. Number 5. Okay, let's lighten things up a bit here. Number 5 is the best love song that I heard in 2021. It's High Fidelity by the Zen Arcade. Okay, let me make this perfectly clear. The Zen Arcade are an incredibly kooky band. They are essentially as experimental as a band like Inhaler, except they take it to the fucking limit. They go against all sorts of genres, and this particular garage rock outing for them is not anywhere close to the weirdest thing that they've put out over the last few years. They are defiantly themselves, not tying themselves to any other band and wanting to kind of forge their own path. And this song proves exactly why they can afford to do that. They have a knack for songwriting and hooks that is absolutely unparalleled within the Irish rock scene at the moment. I genuinely think they are some of the most talented people working in music today. And this song just speaks to me on a spiritual level. Basically, it's a love song about wanting to see your lover in high fidelity. As you might expect from that, it's a song written from the point of view of a fucking film nerd, full of film references, filming references, talking about not wanting to be left on the cutting room floor and feeling your heartbeat in 5.1 surround sound. Everything about it is nerdy as fuck, and yet it's so earnest and so soaring that you can't help but be swept off your feet by it. It's easily one of the most feel-good songs of the year, with one of the best hooks, one of the best instrumentals, one of the best performances of the entire year. If you can't listen to this song and just smile with appreciation, then you really, really need to lighten the fuck up. I cannot get enough of this song, and considering the fact that the Zen Arcade have yet to release a song that I remotely dislike, yeah, this is a band whose debut album I am highly anticipating. They haven't released an official studio album yet, and I cannot wait for the day when they finally do. Fucking hell, I adore this. Number 4. Okay, number 4 is where we get a little intense. Remember I said before that This Town by Kojak was the second best industrial rap song of the year? Well, as you might expect, number 4, I Lie Here Buried with My Rings and My Dresses by Backwash and Ada Rook. Why is it that Backwash and Ada Rook work so well together? Last year, Black Magic made my top 50 songs of the year, around number 25, I believe, and I absolutely stand by that. It's a phenomenal song. But the follow up album was just better in every single way, taking the industrial rap to its absolute limit, mixing in more and more elements of screamo and metal. It's just a fucking tour de force of and a blend of sounds that absolutely works better than it has any right to. And Backwash is the backbone of it all. Oh, I cannot put into words the visceral reaction I get whenever this song comes on. It screams pain in a way that I cannot really fathom, especially because of just how epic it feels in scope. Yes, it's basically Backwash tearing apart the system that would judge her black trans experience and talking about all the ways in which people tell her that things could be better and yet they're really not, even from her own fucking family, people and the people who should be supporting her. There's anger and visceral hatred behind these lines, and that chorus just screams it all with that screamo voice of empty, alone. Again, this is a song that I listened to this year whenever I just wanted to wallow in fury. Whenever I was feeling so angry that I just wanted an outlet, this song was the one I went to. It's so cathartic, so furious, and perfectly so perfectly constructed around her own personal experience that it's honestly as visceral of a rap song as something like The Blacker the Berry by Kendrick Lamar. And I do not make that comparison lightly, by the way. This song is just full on epic. There is nothing this year that I listened to that made me feel more visceral anger, except one, which we will get to, than this song. Backwash, you are an absolute legend. I don't know why Ada Rook brings out this side in you, but please continue making music together because my god, I needed this. Oh, and congratulations on my favorite line of the year with My Demons Have Populations. Fucking A. Ugh. Number 3. Okay, so far in this top 10, we've talked about stuff I really love and that is so smooth and perfect, stuff that it's very emotional, stuff that's very catchy. It's gonna be weird after all of that putting this at number 3. I will admit it's a bit of a tonal shift. But I will also say this is probably the song I listened to the most in 2021, or at the very least one of my most played songs of the year. And boy, do I not expect it to make anybody else's top 50, but fuck it, it's my list. Number 3 is Deal With It by Ashniko and Khalees. Yeah, you heard right. Ashniko made this list. Not only did she make this list, she made it in the top 5. Not only did she make the top 5, she made the top 3. I'm shocked by how well this song has held up to replay over the course of the year because it is absolutely a bratty as hell song. It's a song where she is telling an ex to deal with his pain and get his shit out of her face. He's on the floor crying and asking to be taken back, and she just tells him to fuck right off. She's over him. And the reason why this song stuck with me so much throughout 2021 is that unlike a lot of Olivia Rodrigo's songs or a lot of the artists that came out this year, Ashniko's the one who convinced me the most that she actually is over it. There is not a single part of me that believes that she has any remorse for any of it. The relentless taunting, the brattiness, the quotable lines left and right. I mean, the first line of this song is, I don't need a man, I need a puppy. The fact that she follows up the second verse by saying, I don't need a man, I need a rabbit, followed by the sound of a vibrator. Everything about the song is made to antagonize. And that chorus with Khalees's sample of I hate you so much right now, followed by the deal with it, everything about it is just braggadocious, in your face brattiness. And again, that was just something I was in a mood for in 2021. I have no idea why this song connects with me so strongly, considering there are so many elements of it that I have seen in songs that I hate over the years, like, say, Want You Back by Cher Lloyd. But what can I say? Ashniko just fucking sells it. She owns the stage so utterly that there is no way you can possibly deny her. I cannot express enough how much I adore this song. It is easily my favorite pop song of the year. My God, do I absolutely adore it. And if I'm the only one out there who really loves it as much as me, fucking deal with it. Ugh. Number 2. Okay, look, if you've been watching the blog or reading along with the blog at all this year, it shouldn't surprise you that this artist, and this song in particular, is this high on my list. Number 2 is More Like You by Orla Gartland. I remember the moment that this song dropped, I proclaimed that I was in love. Everything about Orla Gartland's sound just appeals to me. It's quiet, folksy, thoughtful, incredibly tangled lyrically. Seriously, the pictures she paints are just fucking mind-numbing, and God, I am such a fan of it. That album, Woman on the Internet, might not have been as good as I wanted it to be, if I'm being honest, but the individual songs in it that stand out, like You're Not Special, Babe, or even Madison, which has grown on me a lot, or Do You Mind, they're all just phenomenal. Like, some of the best songs to be released in 2021. But this song was the best of them. The first of them I heard, and the one that really convinced me that Orla Gartland was one of my new favorite artists, which is an opinion I maintained throughout the entire year. Every single time that Orla Gartland would drop something, I would listen to it and just smile. But again, we're talking about this song in particular, and I barely have an idea of what it's actually about. The best I can put it is it's a shy, very insecure song about being in a relationship with someone who is so much bigger than you, wanting to be more like them and emulate them, and yet also feeling inadequate. It's being with someone or looking up to someone who you want to emulate, and yet there's a part of you that feels like you'll never be good enough. There's an insecurity and a fragility to this song that Orla Gartland absolutely nails, and it's so fucking charming. The instrumental is low and subtle, but it's paced perfectly. It sounds like a song that's been around for decades and yet is brand new. It plays with different tones and off-key elements that really shouldn't work and yet come together so perfectly. The multi-tracking is flawless, and Orla Gartland is just a master songwriter and an absolutely phenomenal performer. This song grabbed my heartstrings from the very first listen and refused to let go. I cannot express in words just how much I absolutely adore this song. And yet, despite all that, it is not the number 1. Yeah, despite the fact that I spent the entire year praising Irish artists, it wasn't an Irish artist who actually topped this list. Go figure. So who did? Number 1. We're finally here at the number 1 spot, and if you looked at the thumbnail, in particular, to this video, one name may be weirdly absent from this list. A name that, a face that should be familiar to all of you, that is clearly in that thumbnail, but which I somehow haven't talked about over the course of 50 songs. So the real question is, did that artist top my list? The answer is yes. And boy, is it one that I have a lot to say about. Strap in. Number 1, my number 1 song of the year is Oxytocin by Billie Eilish. I've been praising Billie Eilish since 2019. I've been aware of her for longer than that, but 2019's When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go was a game changer for me. The first time I heard Zanny, I realized just how special Billie was and how stupid and blind I'd been up until that point. So I gave her all the praise that she deserved and promptly called that album one of my favorites of that year, something I stand by to this day. I have praised her on more lists than I can count at this point. She consistently makes music I absolutely adore. Some of you might even remember she made my favorite hit song of 2021 in Happier Than Ever, the title track. But even despite the fact that Happier Than Ever would have absolutely made this list if I didn't have a one song per artist limit, it was never going to top the list in the way that Oxytocin was. Oxytocin is a song that every time I go back to it, it's a different experience. And let me explain why. I was listening to Happier Than Ever, the album, a lot throughout this year, and trying to figure out what made it click. Because as much as I love it, I did genuinely prefer When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? And finally, this was the song that made me realize why it felt like there was more going on with this album. And once this song clicked, every other song clicked as well. Because this song, more than any other, made me realize just how much of an asshole the guy she's talking about on this album was. He wasn't just an asshole, he was a fucking abuser. Whether it be physical or emotional remains to be seen, even though Your Power, and especially this song, shows that there was definitely a physical side to that abuse, whether or not it be intentional. And it genuinely makes me so angry every time I go back to the album. It makes me angry to think that somebody of Billie Eilish's age had to go through so much. And the reason why this song in particular works so well and why it's the catalyst is because it's the song from the point of view of the main male figure at the core of the album. It's a song where he and Billie are reveling in the act of sex. To put it bluntly, Billie Eilish is having sex on this song. And her fucking abuser is relishing every moment. He's pulling her in, weaving her around his finger. It's deeply uncomfortable considering the context of the song. And yet, the reason why the song is at the top of this list is because it also succeeds at being everything else as well. Billie intentionally made this uncomfortable. Billie intentionally made this incredibly catchy. Billie intentionally made the dark wave beat one of the best and most crowd-pleasing things that she's ever done. The song lures you in. It feels sexual. It feels almost intoxicating. And yet as soon as you realize who it's from the point of view of, you find yourself almost recoiling in disgust. Because you suddenly realize that you're reveling in this same abuser's fantasy. This fucking... This guy who basically treated her like a fucking sex object and who made her stop talking to her family and who is so manipulative in just the simplest of lines. Like on this song where he fucking tells her, you should really run away. Other people shouldn't stay. Other people won't obey. But you and me, we're both the same. That's why we get on so well. Because I can just twist you round, make you think that this is actually about love, when in fact there is a deeply ugly subtext to it. Everything about the song is uncomfortable. And that's why I love it so fucking much. It's so catchy and so alluring while also being so dangerous and disgusting at the same time. And the fact that Billie created that atmosphere all on her own, taking it upon herself to tell this story from his point of view, but still making it her song, making it her own, it's stunning. It's a song that goes beyond just being a song. It's a fucking experience. I can't think of another song this year that made me feel so conflicted and so many different emotions every time I listen to it. Anger, hurt, sadness, pity, sympathy, going back to fury. So much of it. And then amongst all of it, just such an alluring and intoxicating beat, which fools you into listening to it again and again. Much like Billie was fooled again and again into going back to a guy who really didn't give a shit about her. God. For those reasons and many others, it made Happier Than Ever one of my favorite albums of 2021, and it's what makes Oxytocin my favorite song of the year. I hope some of you can agree with it, and if you don't, please let me know in the chat or in the comments below if you're watching the playback what you thought of this list and what some of your favorite songs of the year were. Like I said, parts of this list were going to get heavy in the second half. What can I say? I have a very diverse taste. I have a very diverse palette when it comes to music. And this song. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed. I don't know the next time you'll be seeing me, but let's just say I might have other on-camera stuff planned in the not-too-distant future. We'll see. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed watching this live stream. Please feel free to let me know what you think in the comments below or in the chat. Thanks so much for those of you who did show up and stay till the end. You guys are absolutely insane, but I appreciate it. And hey, until the next time, I'm Finn, and this is The Social Tune, signing off.